After almost a full day of deliberations, on May 11, 2012, the jury found Rafferty guilty of all charges. He was given a 25 years term of life in jail without the possibility of release 4 days later. Rafferty would eventually attempt to appeal the verdict on the grounds that the judge had instructed the jury incorrectly. Rafferty attempted to start the appeal process for the following 4 years, but in vain, since it was dismissed on October 24, 2016, the day the appeals court judge heard it. On August 8, 2010, Rodney and Darren finished a 3,500-kilometer charity cycling ride in Tori's honor from Woodstock to Edmonton, Alberta. Every year, supporters of Tori and her case take part in the Iron Sirens Ride, a motorcycle event for Tori Stafford. McClintock assaulted a fellow prisoner in 2012 when she was housed in Grand Valley. According to the Crown, the attack had been completely unprovoked. She wrote in a letter to a friend that she regretted not injuring the woman more severely. In 2014, McClintock's was reclassified from maximum security to minimal security. McClintock was relocated to the Okemaw Healing Lodge on the Nekoneet First Nation in October 2018, closer to Maple Creek, Saskatchewan. The Correctional Services of Canada manages the resort. She was given permission to move after declaring that she was an Indigenous person. However, her brother disputes that she is genuinely of Indigenous ancestry. It should be noted that the CSC permits prisoners to self-identify as Indigenous without requiring them to submit documentation, and that non-Aboriginal prisoners are permitted to reside at the lodge as long as they agree to adhere to its spirituality and programming. The Native Women's Association of Canada originally advocated for healing lodges in 1990. And the law was finally approved in 1992. Their goal is to lessen harm and promote healing through the application of cultural teachings and spiritual practices. Currently, they are operated in 2 different methods. They might be supported and run by the CSC and its employees, or they could be supported by the CSC and run by neighborhood partner organizations. The Okemaw Healing Lodge is an unfenced minimum to medium security facility staffed around the clock by security cameras. It serves as a location where Indigenous peoples can strengthen their ties to their culture through the application of traditional methods and a holistic treatment strategy. Its method uses healing circles, sweat lodges, and pipe ceremonies while concentrating on concerns like job, family, drug misuse, and education. Residents of the lodge share living quarters, which allows them to participate in programming geared at easing their transition after release. They also clean and cook together. The CSC tried to call Rodney to get his opinion on the transfer, but was unsuccessful because he had just moved. McClintock had already been sent to Saskatchewan when family members were finally able to inform him. He expressed his ire at the choice in an open letter to Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, pleading with him to change his mind. Those who live in Maple Creek protested in front of the Healing Lodge to show their support for Rodney. Those on the front lines said that they were concerned for the safety of the children of those who are currently behind bars. When he said he couldn't send McClintock back to Grand Valley since it was the CSC's responsibility, Prime Minister Trudeau came under fire on Parliament Hill. Additionally, he came under fire for calling members of the Conservative Party ambulance, chasing politicians after Tony Clement, a conservative justice critic, warned that the action would undermine public confidence in the country's legal system and encourage vigilantism. The Liberal Party should immediately reverse the move, argued Andrew Scheer, the then leader of the Conservative Party. Candice Bergen, a Conservative MPE, introduced a motion in the House of Commons to both denounce and reverse the judgment. After a full day of discussion, it was defeated 282, with the NDP and all of the Liberal MPs voting against it. Trudeau abstained from the vote. Then Minister of Public Safety and Emergency Preparedness, Ralph Goodale issued an order to CSC to investigate the transfer and the general policies governing the placement of prisoners in healing lodges in response to mounting public pressure. When questioned by news outlet CTVE, he stated that prison administration officials thought the change was the best approach to atone for McClintock's prior deeds and maintain public safety. The CSC's at the time recently appointed Commissioner Ann Kelly said she approved of the change and believed it was beneficial. The elders on the reserve had not been consulted, according to the chief of the Neckanete First Nation, and they probably would not have agreed to the transfer if they had been. After a brief stay at the multi-level Edmonton Institution for Women, Goodale said on November 7, 2018, that McClintock will be returned to Grand Valley and that the rules governing inmate transfers to healing lodges would be tightened. For criminals serving lengthy sentences, the new laws would make it more challenging to transfer them to such facilities. McClintock sought restitution for what she claimed was unfair treatment as a result of being transferred back to jail. She argued the action had resulted in a loss on her liberty and that it had been unreasonably and procedurally unfair and therefore unlawful. Later, the issue was abandoned. McClintock had accrued 23 violations during her time at Grand Valley prior to her relocation to the Therapeutic Lodge. Rafferty was subsequently transferred from a high-security facility to Quebec's La Macasa Institution, which is a medium-security facility. The Stafford family was also incensed by this. Nevertheless, despite criticism from the public, Goodale stuck to his decision, arguing that the jail was no less secure than others and had a focus on treating sex offenders. The police response to Tori's disappearance and their failure to announce an Amber Alert was publicly criticized. It was the focus of a review into the Amber Alert system in Canada. The Oxford Community Police claimed that they had asked to have one activated, but the OPP claimed that the situation didn't match the requirements at the time. Law enforcement agencies no longer require evidence that an abduction has taken place. Instead, they just believe that the missing child may be in danger. Since Tori's passing, Rodney has started to promote child safety. He has participated in various Ottawa protests over the years to demand tougher jail sentences for violent offenders, including the elimination of parole for those found guilty of killing a child or another vulnerable person. Many Canadians have argued for the change, which he intended to be known as Tori's Law. To indicate support, people interested can sign a petition that Rodney has created on change.org. Rodney invited the people of southwestern Ontario to celebrate Tori's 20th birthday by performing random acts of kindness for those around them. As a result of her daughter's murder, Tara claims she has PTSD. Not long later, she resumed taking OxyContin, and she has now sought therapy for her relapse. She has admitted that she stays away from things like hammers, trash bags, and the street where she and her kids used to live when Tori was kidnapped. Global News learned in March 2021 that Rafferty had been charged by family members with extorting his mother and grandparents while incarcerated. Rafferty allegedly made calls when he was under high security, telling his family that he was in the hospital and needed money to pay for his own protection. He had only ever been attacked once and was not in continual danger as he claimed. He was merely manipulating his family members. His relative gave Global copies of receipts for money orders and checks that covered the years 2014 to 2018, demonstrating that his mother had sent tens of thousands of dollars to the wives of prisoners in British Columbia and Quebec. None of these people were people she personally knew. When Global reached out to the people listed in the documents, they declined to confirm the allegations. Rafferty likewise declined to respond. The concerned relative tried to stop the calls by contacting the CSC several times, but they persisted. Additionally, he stated that he had an email communication with officials for the majority of 2019, sending copies of the receipts, but he has not received a response. A CSC representative told Global that they were unable to comment on specifics due to the Privacy Act, but that they reviewed all information that was brought to their attention by victims and the relatives of prisoners. After having past health concerns, Rafferty's mother passed away from a heart attack in August 2018 at the age of 60.